What up, Bucs fans, NFL fans, and gambling fans? Welcome to week 15 of Pewter Picks and Props, brought to you by pewterreport.com. We're going to get into a full slate of NFL games this week. Of course, player props and all the picks for Bucs versus Chargers. Of course, I'm your host, Matt Matera. Very excited to be joined with all of you on today's show. Typically, we start with college football, but it is bowl season, so the games are very much spread out. So moving forward, I do have one pick for this week, the Army-Navy game, which I'm excited to talk about. But moving forward, after this week, because the games are spread out, and a lot of the bowl games, you don't know who's playing, who isn't playing, who's got their starters going. After this week, I will do picks for the first round of the college football playoff with all those games, and then I'll do the semifinals, the Final Four, and probably the national championship game as well, depending on how long the Bucs go too. So I'll do the rest of the college football playoffs. Probably not other bowl games unless there's something I really, really like. Then I'll add it on. But that's the schedule moving forward for college football. You still get a little bit of a taste of college football, and this game is very, very special year in and year out. So let's start with the Army-Navy game. Ton of pageantry involved, and super grateful and thank you to all of our armed forces. And this is a great tradition in the United States with Army versus Navy. I believe it's taking place in the D.C. area this week. And it feels more patriotic. It just does, to take the over in Army versus Navy. It's 39, which I found very surprising considering both teams actually have legit offenses now and will throw the ball. It's not just the triple option over and over again, which is totally fine because both teams know how to defend it. And again, never going to criticize our armed forces. Very excited for this game and to see both people from the Army and the Navy there supporting their teams. But now that there's a little more high-flying offense involved, I think it just ramps it up that much more. So I really like the over in this one. I know the over hit, I think, last year in like a crazy overtime game. It typically doesn't. But these games are always close. I'd probably lean towards Navy plus 6.5. But my official pick will be the over of 39, Army-Navy. Very excited to watch that game. I think it's at 3 o'clock Eastern, so make sure you tune in. Moving over to the NFL. Pretty over-heavy this week for the most part. There's one where I'm not necessarily. But as far as the NFL games, I got 3 picks to go to. First one, Dolphins at the Texans. I really like this over of 46.5. Dolphins still have something to play for, even though it's very thin chance that they make the playoffs. They got Tua, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, A-Chain, the running back. They got full force of offense. Yes, it's a road game, but in Houston, they have a retractable roof, so they don't have to worry about the elements. They suck in cold weather, but that's not going to be the case going up against Houston. And I don't really care about the Dolphins' defense. I don't think it's that good. I think C.J. Stroud, the Texans' quarterback, has taken a step back a little bit, but can still be very efficient. If he's got 2 of his top receivers, he'll be all right. The Texans can put up points. The Dolphins can certainly put up points. So I love that this is really anything less than 49. So we'll take the 46.5, the over in that one. Now battle Pennsylvania Steelers at the Eagles. I'll take the Steelers plus 5. They always play better when they are the underdog and when they are getting points. That's been a staple of Mike Tomlin. And of course, the Eagles. I took the Panthers against them last week. That covered. Then you had all the stuff come out about Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown and all that stuff. We'll see if that flares up. We saw turmoil really impact the Eagles last season when they played against the Bucs in the playoffs. If it rears its ugly head again, hey, fine by me. It's better for the Bucs, and it's better for those betting on the Steelers plus 5. So I'll gamble on the Steelers as an underdog. Still a great defense. That defense travels anywhere and everywhere. And, they're also trying to win their division. They got a tough battle with the Ravens, and that's coming up soon as well. They got to win every game down the stretch. It's not going to be easy, so I think they'll keep it close and at least cover plus 5. I don't know if they'll win, but they will cover. This next one, probably the most exciting game of the season and potentially a future Super Bowl matchup. So by default, you have to pick this game one way or another. and you don't want to be the person taking the under in this game. So you have to take the over. Bills at Lions, over 54.5. I know it's a high number, but we're talking about two high-flying offenses, two quarterbacks that do it all. Josh Allen can run it in for a touchdown. He'll throw a ton of touchdowns. Jared Goff, the Lions quarterback, has 1,000 weapons from Amon-Ra St. Brown to Jahmyr Gibbs and on and on and on. Lions defense is banged up. Bills don't have that good of a defense. I hope this is the Super Bowl matchup as well. This is going to be so exciting to watch. I'll have it on the separate TV because obviously the Bucs game is going on. But the pick has to be the over of 54.5. Can't wait to watch it. It's just prime time, appointment television football. It's technically not prime time. But it's one of those, stop everything you're doing and watch Bills versus Lions. Unless you're watching the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have a very important matchup coming up against the LA Chargers in Los Angeles. Bucs have a 7-6 record. Chargers have an 8-5 record. Lost a heartbreaker to the Chiefs on the doink that won the division. Mike Tirico did a great job with that call. The spread is +3 for the Bucs. The over/under is 45.5. I wrote this week on PewterReport.com that the Bucs are going to run the table and win out down the stretch. So I have to take the Bucs +3 if I got to stick to my word on that one. And as far as the over/under goes, I'm taking the under of 45.5. So the Bucs do this thing where they play up and down to their competition. They didn't look great against the Raiders at times. They certainly didn't look great against the Carolina Panthers. And I know they lost some close games to the Chiefs and the Ravens, things of that nature. But they play up to their competition. That's why they beat the Eagles and the Commanders and the Lions early on. I think that same recipe comes through. And also, the Chargers are going to want to get into a rock fight with the Bucs. The Chargers don't turn the ball over. They run it a ton, and they play really good defense. I think the Bucs and styles make fights. The Bucs are going to get into that rock fight with the Chargers. What's going to happen is the Bucs will have an early lead. The Chargers will get back and sink back into that rock fight. But here's the thing. The Bucs can win in different ways. So while the tempo and style of the game goes towards the Chargers, the Bucs will end up winning because they too can run the football. Their worst weakness on defense is stopping the pass, and specifically tight ends. Well, Will Dissly doesn't look like he's going to play. The Chargers don't have a deep threat down the field. Ladd McConkey may not play. So they're not going to be able to exploit the worst weakness of the Bucs. Meanwhile, I still think the Bucs will be able to throw the ball. Not crazy successful, but Mike Evans is going to be the difference maker in this game. They're going to run it regardless of whether it's with Bucky Irving or Rachaad White or Sean Tucker. So it's going to be an ugly, disgusting game. But that's why the Bucs are going to cover, and that's specifically why the under is going to hit. The Chargers, I believe, are 8-4 this year with the unders. They hit a lot of the unders. Let's see. They 8-4? No, sorry. They are 9-4 with the unders this year. The Bucs are pretty good with the overs. They've hit way more overs this year. But when the Bucs have hit the under, they've done it 2 weeks in a row. So they'll go over, under, and then, 5 overs in a row, then 2 straight unders, then back to the overs. Every single time they've gone an under, they've hit the under again the next week. So they went under against the Raiders. They'll go under again based on the Chargers always going under and the Bucs following that pattern. And 45.5 is pretty high considering how the Chargers play. If it was 42, I probably would have leaned towards the over, but it's not. It's at 45.5. So the picks are Bucs +3 and under 45.5. Next up and last, but certainly not least, the Bucs player props. So let's get to it. And by the way, if you haven't noticed, wardrobe change with the power of editing, recording the player props at a different time. But let's start with the player props that I feel the best about, and it comes from the same position. Chase McLaughlin over 1.5 field goals, talking about the kickers, and Chargers kicker Cameron Dicker also over 1.5 field goals. For the Bucs, it has more to do because remember, last game they scored all touchdowns. This has more to do with the Chargers being one of the best red zone teams in the league. The Bucs have had their issues at times in the red zone, but the Bucs can get close but we'll have to settle for a couple of field goals. And in this close back and forth game, you're going to need every point you can get. So that's why I like Chase McLaughlin. And kind of similar with the Bucs defense against the Chargers offense. The Chargers are not high flying. They don't score a ton of points. They were even shut down by the Falcons the week before from time to time. Again, this is going to be an ugly rock fight type of game. Touchdowns, I'm not going to say are going to be at a premium, but it's going to be scratch and claw for every single point that you can find. So that's why it's Dicker over 1.5 field goals. Next up, Bucs quarterback Baker Mayfield under 34.5 passing attempts. I think with the Bucs' reliance on running the football, finding success running the football leads to less passing attempts. And also, this whole season, they played a number of games. They played 13 games so far. He's only gone over 34.5 passing attempts 4 times this year. And with this game being so close, with the Bucs not going to be able to drive down the entirety of the field all of the time, I think he'll throw it a good amount, a solid enough amount to win the game, but not more than 35 times. So I'll take under 34.5 on the passing attempts. And my touchdown prop of the week, a guy that seems to show up every week and just kind of make a play here or there, has had some big scores, tends to pop up, feeling more confident week in and week out, and he's buddies with Baker Mayfield. So we're going to go Sterling Shepard, anytime touchdown. That is a payout of plus 325. Just have a feeling that he's going to pop up and make a big play like he has before. He's been utilized in the offense a good amount. He's essentially wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 with Mike Evans healthy and Jalen McMillan getting involved more, but he will see the field more than a lot of the other wide receivers. And it's a nice payday at plus 325. So Sterling Shepard is the touchdown prop, or he is the touchdown prop pick this week. Those are all of my picks and props for week 15. Thank you, everybody, for joining. If you want to follow me on my social media, on my Twitter, now X, it's at Matty4_Matera. My Instagram, just take out the 4. It's Matty_Matera. Follow all my work at Pewter Report. Follow Pewter Report at Pewter Report. And that'll do it for this week. Appreciate you all. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and let's win some money. Out.